TikTok, it's time to rock. Thank you very much for the wonderful applause, ladies and gentlemen. It's always a pleasure to be here on the Sunday show with the Rock Professor and Brad, who's just literally whipped in through the door, having to make apologies about his handsome appearance. My gosh. My God, bro, you never have to apologize about that.
Oh, man. Literally just ran through the door and sorry, held you guys up for a few minutes there, but yes.
Straight into the studio.
Yeah, just straight in. So I'm glad to be here. And, it's good to see you going.
Yeah. Do you know what's weird? I was watching as the intro, and I was standing there, and I was thinking, what? Brad must be holding a guitar. I could see a guitar with a hand on it, and that's because I've got a green jumper on, and that piece of green in the background. There's a piece of green in the back. It's just right. It's in the right position. It looks like I'm playing the guitar.
It does.
It's really weird. Let's see if I do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And there's another background that we have with Eddie Van Halen, and when I'm on here, it looks like I'm playing the guitar solos. So yeah. Just Brad, I'm going to drop you out, bro. I'm going to drop you out for a screenshot. Hold on. Don't go anywhere, Brad. Hold on.
That's good, isn't it? I like that.
Oh no, it doesn't work.
No, it's gone away now. It's gone away. You see?
Lean to your left, Simon, a bit. Yeah, baby. Yeah, yeah. Hold it there. No one's watching us anyway. There's only 3 people on. It's just the
Johnny
3 of us. So, you know,
Derek,
at least we're laughing.
And Tim Thomas. Yes.
That's it.
That's fine. That's
at least we've seen the humor and actually the creativity in it. There's no humor involved in that, Simon. Come on.
Really?
It's creativity. I suppose we should just carry on with the show. As usual, guys, we always know that we get a few people coming back watching us for some reason. There's a few reasons, Brad and Simon, why people come back and watch us. So we always appreciate that. And if you are watching us live, please leave some comments. Please leave some comments on our videos because that helps too with what we're trying to do here. We've got a show today that's unplanned, Brad and Simon. We were originally going to have Hugh on, weren't we?
Yes.
Hugh.
Yes. Good old Hugh. Yes. Called in sick. No, he had commitments on. Whoa. So we'll put this show together on the fly, and I'm sure we've had enough experience at it, Andrew.
Well, the good thing about what we're going to do, though, is that, you know, we've got a bit of an idea, Simon and Brad, so we're going to talk about Fleetwood Mac. We're going to talk about some pictures that have been unearthed this week that are doing the rounds on social media and certainly on our social media platforms as well. So we're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about this new Greeny tribute guitar, and we're going to get some reaction footage from Brad because he hasn't seen the website that's detailing a lot of information on this guitar, ladies and gentlemen. If you aren't aware of what's attached with this guitar, it's going to be, I think, a surprising thing. So we look forward to having a bit of a conversation about that, Simon. We're also going to talk about, after I've finished this and Brad's going to talk about his gig, we're going to play a little bit of a video to support Bob and Jeff's upcoming Fleetwood Mac book, Simon.
Yep, we are, which is good.
No.
So plenty to pack in today, but slightly different. Not doing an album.
No ranking today. No ranking.
No ranking today.
No rankings, ladies and gentlemen. Just a little bit of waffle, but look, it's probably a good opportunity for us to talk about our friends, our channel friends. Go and please support them. Some of our videos, guys, got some good views in the course of the week, so we're always happy there, aren't we, Simon and Brad? So thank you for that.
Yes,
really cool.
And a few subs, Simon.
A few subs, yes, yeah, up to nearly 8,300, which is pretty cool. 8,290, it's fantastic. So thank you all for subscribing. Really great. Yeah,
awesome.
Looking forward to keeping it going. I'm glad that people like what we're doing here, because we work hard at it.
Yeah, we certainly do. One of the reasons why we're a little bit later where you are, if you're watching live, is because here in New Zealand, this is the first day of daylight saving because we're moving into our spring and summer. And the Rock Professor's got 4 weeks before his clocks go back, so we'll adjust the show in about 4 or 5 weeks. Brad and I, we got to think about the Rock Professor, don't we, Brad? If we went our normal time, and the guy would get no sleep, Brad.
That's right. Well, at times, Simon, we do just think we're going to tell you that it's too bad you're going to have to get up earlier, but we understand that. We don't do it because we just feel sorry for you, mate. So when you get up early enough, it is.
So you should. You should feel sorry for the old boy.
Oh, look, we do appreciate the fact that our co-hosts do change part of their weekend to come and do this live on the channel, ladies and gentlemen. We've got Brad rushing in from a gig, time that he could be spending out doing Brad things, and my gosh, Brad does a lot of Brad things. And then we've got the Rock Professor. He doesn't need any beauty sleep, to be honest. So.
I'm past that now. Yeah. Don't tell anyone. But I'm up already anyway. Don't tell anyone. Okay. Don't tell them.
So the secret is, Andrew, the Rock Professor's had already about 10 hours sleep, so he's all refreshed. He's ready to go. He's he's had his beauty sleep. He's ready to go.
Yeah, he's ready. You see, I'm up, but I haven't had breakfast yet, so it's kind of
No, I do appreciate hanging out with you guys. You know that. You guys know that, and it's always cool to get together with Brad and the Rock Professor. So news this week, ladies and gentlemen, before we try and start something that might resemble a bit of a show. A lot of friends here on this channel, and a lot of people that we know might be aware that Caleb Rappaport's mum, Mary, passed away a few days ago. We've been fortunate, Brad, haven't we, to have Caleb on the channel a couple of times, talking about his band and Eddie Van Halen. So we just want to pass on our condolences to Caleb and his family during this time. Losing, parents, especially your mum's a tough thing because, I went through that process about three years ago. You too, Simon, I think, too, didn't you?
No, my mum's still alive. You'll be pleased to know.
So it's your dad.
My dad died in 2013, so 9 years
That's
ago.
right, sorry. My mistake. So, Caleb, if you're watching this, brother, condolences.
Yes, condolences and warm thoughts, and all our prayers are with you, mate.
Yeah, absolutely, Caleb. We're really saddened by that, and clearly a devastating blow for you. So sending our love to you as well.
Awesome. So Brad, the backdoor man. What? I forgot about that. You thought I did too, eh?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you thought I forgot about that too. I might have. Okay, nothing sinister involved there. What are we doing, bro? We're showing photos of your. Okay, what were you up to? What have you been doing this week?
Last night I had a theatre show on in Mildura, which is a country town close to the South Australian border of Australia.
Yep.
Still in Victoria. And so we had a bit of a drive up there because our flights were going to be too expensive to get to Mildura, so we all decided to drive up in a van. We got a truck that all the stuff and all the equipment was transported in. So we're all there was 7 of us in a van, and we were bouncing along the road, all shoulder to shoulder, squished into a van. 7 of us, very rock and roll, and all sweaty, and lots of laughing and swearing and lots of stuff that you would everything that you would think would happen in a rock band happened. So and then obviously it was a late night and an early start to drive back today to get back in time. So but all the crew needed to get back, all the band needed to get back early. So that's my rig I used last night, which is my main Marshall head with a Australian company called Albrick twin speaker box. So there's 2, what are they, Celestian vintage 30s, and they're not side by side. They're ones, if you look at the right side, the speakers at the top, and then on the left side, the speakers at the bottom of the cabinet. So the cabinet's quite deep, but it's actually deeper than a quad box, but it's not as high.
Okay. Brad, you get a much different sound if you had the speaker on over the other side, so they have opposite diagonal. Listen,
so that's the
it's all in the positioning of the speakers.
That's right. Yep, and how your ears hear it. So, but that's the stage setting. So we got keyboards are up on the riser with the drum kits, and a little lounge suite in there with a TV, very 80s, telephone, a lamp. Beautiful theatre, Mildura Arts Centre it's called, and we had a really good turnout. Not that you can see it there, but this is before the gig. This is sound check. Just took I always take a few shots at sound check to show what my office looks like for the night, so people understand what I do. And so that's I don't know if you can see the quad box shape there. It's quite deep, and it's not narrow. It's fairly deep. It's not quite as wide as a Marshall head, but it's a good size box. It's got a lot of resonance, and to keep the volume down, sometimes the twin speaker box suits just perfectly. So we're going to be trying a few things with that speaker box. Actually, we're going to be trying putting 2 mics on it, and trying to put a millisecond or a couple of millisecond delay on one mic just to get a bit of a stereo spread, which will make it nice to sound big and fat out the front. Just the mandatory pedals that I require. On the top panel, there's a Strymon timeline. On the bottom panel, from left to right, the EVH phase. I've got a custom made, like a Tube Screamer style pedal. The black pedal with the 2 buttons is just an amp switcher, and a wah pedal, and that's the MXR / wah pedal. It's got a built-in fuzz and everything or whatever, but I bypass that. I just have it so that it's a clean wah, and it's very, very crybaby. And just the telephone on the right hand side there, the and just a Les Paul and a BC Rich for the gig. So the BC Rich is I'm trying to keep it all within theme, which is I'm dressed as Slash, so you got to try and keep it in theme. And I'd probably use my Music Man if I didn't have to do that, but just to make it look nice. But that's the BC Rich I use for the Floyd Rose, basically, for the the Van Halen stuff and the stuff that requires the Floyd Rose.
I've got a question for you guys. quickly. You're talking about old phones there. Do you guys remember the phone number that you had when you were a kid at home? I do. Brad,
So
Simon,
do I.
Do you remember your phone number?
Yeah. Piddle Trentide 293.
Brad?
Piddle Trentide 293.
59351. Because, all these girls I was giving that number to, Brad and Simon. Come on.
I was a good boy. I never gave my number out.
Oh. Oh, my Lord.
And nobody I knew had telephones, so it's
Andrew,
smoke signals.
Andrew, I used to jump on my push bike and ride around to people's places, And that's
Ooh. Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm being good. I'm just going around for visiting and things like that. So.
Yeah, I know that. I'm mowing lawns, seeing if people want shopping done and things like that. Good stuff. Bringing good cheer.
See, Andrew, yours is a 5-digit telephone number, where mine's a 3-digit telephone number.
Mine's
yours? 6.
I think mine's 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you want to do a quick shout out, Rock Professor, to the 6-7 people that are watching us live tonight?
I will say good morning to them, and before that, I will say happy birthday to Bruce Springsteen yesterday, 73. The boss's birthday yesterday. No, I'm not passing that up. 73. Yeah, there's a fantastic story about him that somebody's mother broke down on the New Jersey Turnpike in the pouring rain, and was standing there, and this old pickup truck turns up, and this scruffy bloke gets out and says, "Do you want a hand?" So he apparently changed his tire. Apparently it was Bruce Springsteen. And the scruffy old pickup truck just got out of the car, changed their tire in the pouring rain, and went off again. That's nice. Warms my heart. But yeah, so happy birthday to the boss for yesterday. Yeah, coming to the UK next year on tour.
Well, you better book yourself some time off the show, Andrew. Simon.
Well, one of the gigs was in Hyde Park, and I'm see if I can get to. Maybe I'll go to one of the stadium ones further north, but I don't really want to go and stand in Hyde Park for 6 hours. my poor old knee won't take it. Oh dear! Can I take this armchair in? No, you can't. Oh dear! So I might go and see him next year. One of the Hyde Park gigs on my birthday next year. So.
Beautiful.
Where our friend Richard Fox saw the Rolling Stones recently in Hyde Park. Same thing. Yeah. So they put him on. He was Gret Zeppelin. Bruce Springsteen was born in Freehold, New Jersey. If you want to know.
There you go.
Where he still lives in New Jersey. There we are. Anyways. So, and we should say good morning to Tim Thomas. Good morning, Tim. Derek Clatton, who's catching the replay later. But thanks for dropping by, Derek. Johnny Heartbreaker. Good morning, Johnny. Jonas Hallberg. Good morning, Jonas. Good to see you. Drops Family Garden. Good morning. Tim Thomas. Gret Zeppelin has popped in as well. So good morning to you, Gretch. Nice to see you. So that's who we've got so far who's made a comment. A couple of people who haven't. So if you haven't made a comment, say hi, and I'll give you a good morning.
Awesome. Awesome. We've got Teresa here
That's
too.
really
Thank
cool.
you for joining us.
And Teresa.
So guys, if you're familiar to our channel, you'll know since February, March this year, our channel's been fortunate, blessed, and humbled to be associated with the upcoming publication by two fantastic guys who've been on our channel a couple of times. And the next one that we have coming up, hopefully Brad can get an opportunity to come on, because I'm messaging Robert. I'm messaging Bob now. So, Bob, I know that you'll be watching this. We want to do a shout out to you. He made a special mention in my messages to see if Brad can come on. So I said I'll pass it on live. But we've been fortunate to have these guys on. Simon and I have been talking to these guys a little bit behind the scenes as well, just getting, some extra information. So we've got a big show planned. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe to the channel, because we're going to be having a prize when that book drops. We'll be giving away a copy of that book, and we're going to try and do everything that we can to make it a signed copy for people. So I can't guarantee we can get a signed copy, but we'll do the best that we can. Before I play the video, I said to them that we would play the video, but before we play that, I just want to pass it on to Simon and Brad and just get their thoughts and expectations on what they think this book might be. We know that the copies have been out. A couple of people we know, like Curtis Simon, he's had an advanced copy, so we're looking forward to it, aren't we?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think it's going to be fantastic. I think, it's kind of a bit sort of old school, really, in these days of digital everything, that a proper book with some beautiful black and white photographs in it and stuff, I think is still one of the best art forms of that we could hope for, really. And I think, Andrew and I have got a photograph from the book very kindly sent to us, which is really nice, which is a beautiful thing, so I'm all for the black and white photographs. It kind of, they evoke a kind of era, and they evoke a kind of thing that even color ones don't, in a way. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a fantastic book, and I hope it's going to shine a real light onto what Fleetwood Mac were doing in the Chess Studios in that time. Hopefully. So I'm really looking forward to it.
It's pretty much exactly the same for me, guys. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing the black and white photos. Are always they always capture. I mean, the era itself is represented because it's black and white anyway. So basically, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of energy and everything in the photos. You're going to pick that up, I'm sure. And we're I'm an old school guy as well. I love having a book in front of me and opening it up, and rather than digitally looking at pictures and looking at text and looking at that, I'd much prefer to have a hard copy in my hand of a book and use that. There's something more personal with that, and you connect a little bit more with what the product is, and it's a little bit more personal as well, because you're taking, it's your private copy, it's your thing. There's something to connects you to that as well. I think it's really important to understand that, people, that it's all well and good to look things up on the internet, but it's wonderful to have something on your coffee table and pick it up and look through it. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, look at it on a 4-inch screen as well. That's not really
No. I think what's really interesting about the book and rock and roll photos and pictures for us, Simon and Brad, and a lot of people that watch our channel, is rock and roll pictures and photos go hand in hand with the rock and roll music, don't they? We often have albums, don't we, Simon and Brad? And we've spoken many times on this show how we go when we were younger, and we would just immerse ourselves in looking at the pictures. So I think that's just a progression of who we are as music fans. We want to see those photos, and one of the favorite segments that I personally like about the shows that we do is the photos we throw up and talk about.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, photos capture they're a timestamp. They're a timestamp for an era, and they set a mood. And as you said, Andrew, we always talk about when we're doing the track rankings. It's one of those things to put on the album on Spotify, but it's how much more enjoyable it is to actually have the album sleeve in front of you and looking at the pictures, looking at the information. And even though you've seen it maybe 100 times, it's still, it's exciting Well, it is to me anyway.
Yeah, me too. And also, it's a really interesting time, isn't it? That of which those photographs were taken, and and that thing about the British invasion taking blues music back to the home of blues, Chess Records, and all those things, and playing with a lot of those guys who'd recorded on Chess previously. Is I think there's some historical and social value behind them as well.
Correct.
That you can plug into.
100%.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to play a video that's been on our channel here for a little while. It's just a quick one that I did a while ago, supporting Bob and Jeff's book, and where you can get pre-orders. And like I said to you, this is one thing that our channel loves doing, isn't it, Simon, Brad? We've been involved with Steve Rosen, and his book. There's another great book coming out too, Brad, that we're looking forward to, and that's Gary Moore's biography.
100%. Yes, some good reading. I'm looking forward to that. Gary, like Peter Green, is a massive hero of mine. So yeah.
And also I think that the other important thing, I think, Andrew, for us to say is that, we're trying to help people who are publishing it themselves.
Correct.
Like Steve is publishing it himself. I think, I think Jeff and they've got, I think, but the important thing is, these are small publications, and, these days, getting that out there, because there's so much information. I think, I think it's I like the fact that we get behind the things that, that are linked to our channel and the things that we talk about here every week, and think, and if we can help people, get the information out so that people can get hold of the books if they want them, I think that's especially people like Steve Rosen, who are publishing it himself. It's it becomes important, because without our support, he doesn't do it, does he? Without people knowing that it's out there, and people knowing that how to order it, and the fact that he has to pack it all up in an envelope and send it to you personally is is really it's really good. It's kind of almost that kind of punk ethos thing of doing it yourself, but having people like us to support that, and so that people out there, if they want to get it, they know it's coming out and they can pre-order it and get it. I think that's important. Which is why we get behind these things, because it's supporting people, in artists who are earning a living, and it's not, I think that's important for us to do that.
That's awesome. So what we'll do, we'll play this video, and at the end of this show, if you're watching a replay, we'll attach links to where you can buy the video, and maybe this video as well. So and when you pre-order it, no, you can't make any notes when you pre-order it, but if you do touch base with Jeff and Bob, tell them the 5150 show sent you. I'm sure they'll be happy to hear that.
Robert Ranford asks, when is Bob's and Jeff's book dropping? When's it coming out? Do we have a release date? I thought it was kind of mid-October.
2 weeks time, yeah.
2 weeks, is it? Okay, there we are, Robert. 2 weeks time. Fantastic.
Hi Fleetwood Mac fans. If you're a regular to our channel, you would be aware that Jeff and Bob have been on talking about their epic upcoming project, the soon-to-be released book, Fleetwood Mac in Chicago. They're especially happy now to let you guys know that the book is available for pre-order from Target. We'll also attach to this video other places where you can pre-order the book. We're certainly looking forward to catching up with Bob and Jeff. Once the book becomes available, they can share some insider stories about how they produced this great book. We're sure it's going to be a legacy. It'll be a modern masterpiece for Fleetwood Mac fans. Please get your pre-order in. Thank you.
Awesome. And what we'll do is we'll attach the links to that. But guys, do you want to talk about those photos that were dropped this week?
Yeah, links in nicely, doesn't it? Yeah. Have you got them available?
Yeah. So what I've done is I've gone and done it this way because I didn't want to. Because StreamYards has an issue when you upload more than 10 photos. So hold on, guys. There it is.
Is that a new feature?
Oh, it might be my computer too.
That is a feature. There we are.
So can you guys see that? So I'm going to point something out. Just that's might be a little bit obvious to people, but on our Facebook group that's attached to this channel, the All Things Peter Green Facebook group we have, which has Simon and Brad about it gets 5 to 10 subscribers a day now on that Facebook group. It's just remarkable. But a couple of weeks ago, we had an issue with some people there that wanted a photo taken down because the person who put the photo up on the Facebook group, that person didn't like that person. And so as an admin, they asked me if I could take the photo down. And I said, well, we don't want to get into the habit of taking photos down unless, obviously the spam or pornography, et cetera, But as you guys know, Facebook won't allow you to post those kind of photos anyway. So cut a long story short, they threw a red herring in, and the red herring had to do with copyright and ownership of the photos. So if you notice here on these ones here that have been discovered, Simon and Brad and everyone in the chat, you'll notice there's a watermark there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, well, the A's and the Alami.
Yep. Alami is the official group or whatever that has the copyright for these photos. So because Simon and I and Brad are talking about these photos, we're allowed to use them. But if Brad and Simon were going to get together and do a reproduction, Danny Cooper and Les Paul, and use this photo. Brad, you'll have to probably fork over $50,000 to use it, bro, because you're using it in a commercial sense. Does that make sense?
100%. 100%.
Frankly, building a replica guitar off of one photograph, that angle is probably quite hard, isn't it? I mean,
but back to the photos.
Yeah, I was interesting. I was just thinking, Andrew, as you showed this, that clearly, I don't know what guitar was. Is a 50-something, 54 Les Paul, 50.
Yeah.
Yeah. So early one. Yeah, completely overshadowed by Peter Green's one.
Well, there's some great photos to come. But there's young Danny.
Yeah, and young is the operative word here, isn't it? It's a.
That's a great photo, that one.
So we'll highlight Danny. So the Rock Professor mentioned something really interesting in our Facebook group, and I won't steal his thunder, but
you can steal away. It's fine.
No, so there was an interesting observation, Simon. Would you like to share with people?
Yeah,
watching?
Well, I don't know if it's the next photograph, but you'll notice that there's P90s and there's PAFs, humbuckers, and in one of the other photographs, what's his name? I can't remember his bloody name. Is playing a Strat. So got single coils, P90s, and humbuckers. Jeremy Spencer, thank you. He's playing a Strat. So you, in a sense, Fleetwood, 3 guitarists all playing different pickup guitars. They've got the holy trinity of pickups. I think I described it as, didn't I?
But what I love about this photo, and we've spoken about this before, guys. Fleetwood Mac, one of the first bands to bring in that twin guitar sound, Brad. Which became synonymous with rock, didn't it? Right through the 70s, and this is certainly one of the starting points, Simon and Brad.
Mm-hmm. And I've always been under the, impression that it is a good idea to have slightly different tonality guitars together when you've got dual guitars playing. and that gives you a little bit more wider spread, and you can start to really, I think if you say, for example, a band, they're both using Les Pauls, humbuckers, and they're not using PAFs, for example. Tonality wise, it's very close, so it can be sometimes a bit mismatch or wishy-washy. But when you've got, say, PAFs with a humbucking guitar, it can sound fantastic because it's slightly different tonality, and it gives you a little bit more of a spread sonically.
I presume it is interesting that there's a fairly conscious decision for each of them to play different pickup guitars because of the different sound and the different dynamics that it gives you, and clearly we're talking about 1969, 1970 kind of era. There's not loads of effects, not loads of lots of those things. You're plugging your guitar straight into an amp. Therefore, what you're getting is that purity of tone, and therefore the difference between the three guitars will make for interesting dynamic sound when you're playing, especially playing different places on the neck, because you get a different chimey sound from the Strat, and that different.
And their live albums certainly bring that through to the fore. The Shrine album especially. You can hear the differences in the guitars. But Simon, you'll be happy to see that good English lads there have the cup of tea there with the saucer and the spoon there.
Yes, good work.
But look how delicate their hands are. Just I don't know. There's just something. Oh, top wrap, Brad.
Yes.
Yep, top wraps.
Yeah. No thoughts to wearing out the bridge by top wrapping or anything like that. It's just a guitar, isn't it?
Playing them a lot higher than, say, Jimmy Page used to play his Les Paul as well. So yeah. I think playing a guitar that height makes you play a certain way, and I'm convinced that the lower you play your guitar, the more rock and roll it is. When you play your guitar that around that height, you're a little bit more versatile. You can play different styles. You know what I mean? There's a little bit more to it than I always thought. As a kid, I'd look at all the pictures of the greats like Peter Green playing a Les Paul up high, and then seeing someone like Slash or Jimmy Page playing down around their ankles almost, and you'd be like, but there's a certain way and style that comes with playing your guitar that height, and you listen to how delicate, say, some of the guitar parts on early Fleetwood Mac, and I think a lot of that has to do with the comfort zone where they're playing the guitar. Because it is a comfortable position to play the guitar at that height. It is.
Yeah, completely. And I think, that in those days that it's important, isn't it, that because you don't have effects, I talk about this a lot on this show, the dynamics of playing, even three guitars, you play soft, you play loud, you're flicking between the pickups, whatever, a lot of both seem to be playing on middle pickups, I noticed in the previous photo. I think, is that? I can't tell whether the other one was a bit clearer about it. Taking it off.
All broken off. They're renowned for breaking those damn things. The toggle switch.
Even then.
Yeah. But I think I've looked at this picture 100 times or more, Andrew. This one in particular. With the looking at
the middle position, isn't it? That he's playing.
With the delicate.
Looks like it's on the bridge. Looks like it's on the neck pickup.
On the neck, yeah. I'm just looking at how delicate that flame is at that angle. It's very nice. So it's because there's an understated flame on that guitar when you look at it in certain angles, and then when you look at it at that angle, it's got a nice flame to it. It's very, very beautiful guitar.
Yeah.
Well, just keep this impression in mind, ladies and gentlemen. When we go to the Gibson website soon, we'll just do a bit of a but you're right. I've been looking at this photo too. I just look at that.
I'd love to know what those settings are as well. I was intrigued by where people are playing on the tone and volume knobs.
There's the monster himself.
Yeah. Mr. McVie.
It's funny, you know what, Simon, to answer your question, I reckon they probably didn't even know where they had it.
No, I'm sure they probably didn't. But you know what I mean? I'm fascinated by, I've always been fascinated by that. And I don't think people talk about enough. Where exactly are you setting your tone controls for, particular things? What are you doing? I think it's it's just, I've always been fascinated by that. Because that's some of it, isn't it? How much are you winding it back? And I know a lot of people play on kind of play those guitars, they play them on 8 kind of thing. I don't know what you do when you're gigging with a Les Paul. Do you play it on kind of 8 and give yourself two to go to if you need a bit more?
No,
just wind it up.
Well, the majority of the time I have it up full and then I'll wind it back to clean it up. So I'll do the Jimmy Page thing, really. But dial it back, clean it up, and then obviously no treble bleed on the guitar, because I like the warmth that comes with winding it back a little bit. But sometimes a treble bleed would be beautiful. I at times I think about doing what our friend Zach Zedris discussed about putting a push-pull on your tone control so you can have a treble bleed in or out. I'm just going to highlight that our Andrew with the burger.
Sorry, guys, I just went to go and grab a drink.
I wasn't sure if that was deliberate or not, because I wasn't sure if you were trying to do something that seems to be popular on YouTube.
He put himself in timeout.
Well, timed himself out. Yeah, I wasn't sure.
I don't know why, but no, that's that's interesting. I mean, I've sort of started with my Strat. I started playing the amp a bit louder, but then backing it off to kind of 8 kind of thing as a sort of standard rhythm position, which gives it a slightly different dynamic.
Yeah.
You're right, Robert. And one of the great things about Kurt Hammett is I got to be careful. This is a respectable show. I do love Kurt, but I do have a nickname for him. Sorry, Kurt. And some other people I know call him the king of the wah-wah, but that's another story, isn't it, Brad? So, but one of the great things about Kurt, and we've done this, we've spoken about this, we've done a couple of shows, haven't we? He came out and he plays the Green Man Alishi with that guitar, takes it on tour. Yeah, it's not locked up, Brad. It's not that $2 million guitar is on stage, brother.
Yeah,
it's getting played.
I'm pleased that he bought it. Yeah, I'm pleased that a musician bought it and takes it out. A bit like Joe Bonamassa, I like the fact he takes his out and plays them for people.
Well, I'm a little shocked that Joe Bonamassa didn't try to get that guitar. I'll be honest with you, but look, it's in good hands. It's getting played. It's it's doing what it's meant to be doing, and that its purpose was to be played, and it's got a legacy now that almost exceeds itself as what the guitar was when it came out.
Yeah.
Wow, you're right. And speaking of legacies, I suppose it's probably a good opportunity for us now to we'll share that screen, guys, and we'll go through it. Give me a second.
It's extraordinary. This is, but I mean, I've just Brad, while you're doing that, Andrew. I mean, I've just I've been lucky enough to hear Bernie Marsden play his Beast 59. In a club, and it is extraordinary the noise that comes out of it. I mean, it's unlike any guitar I've heard. And unlike any Les Paul I've heard either. It just, the sound is just huge compared to, normal Les Pauls and stuff I've played. Just extraordinary. I've got some video of it on my phone, which doesn't do it justice, but you still get an idea. It's incredible.
So
so here we are.
I suppose the interesting thing is, if you're Fleetwood Mac, Greeny, Kirk Hammett nuts, I think the news dropped about just over a week. Simon and Brad, that they were coming out with this collector's edition Les Paul. And like a lot of people, I jumped on social media, went and had a look. I didn't message Brad. I didn't message Simon about it because I was in kind of disbelief when I found out the the price of the guitar. Simon, do you want to tell people?
Well, Brad, in case you don't know, it's only $50,000. A mere $50,000. If you've got a spare few quid in your back pocket and fancy it's a thing. I think clearly it's been through the Murphy Lab thing and done properly. But of course, the one thing we should remember is that they did a Gary Moore inspired version, didn't they? There was when Gary Moore ended, they did a replica of it for him, didn't they? I'm pretty sure they did.
Yeah.
I don't think it was $50,000.
No, but there's a little bit more attached to the price.
Oh, there is
with this guitar. So, if you guys paid any attention, ladies and gentlemen, to I think the comment, I forget who made the comment in the chat, but I think it was about 2 days ago or 3 days ago. It was officially released that the 50. Simon and Brad, the 50 copies that they were going to do have all been sold.
Indeed.
It's unreal.
Somebody's got money.
Yeah.
And the controversy, before we continue, Brad and Simon, the controversy for some people, but I'm going to stick up for Gibson here. I'm going to stick up for them, if that's okay, but I'll be keen to hear what you guys have to think. The controversy was by some YouTube personalities that Gibson should have given this to some of their resellers to get a bit of the cake. Yeah, you got an opinion on that, Simon?
No, not really. I think it's all marketing and Bradford. I don't know if you've seen this, but should we go through what actually that $50,000 gives you, Andrew? Because it gives you more than just a guitar, which is quite interesting.
Okay. Well,
so
we'll go. So
they're
through the
making
website
it they're making it an event, and I think that if you can do this, I mean, what did Fender do with the Eddie Van Halen guitar? I mean, how much was it? $50,000? Was it 30,000 or something? One of that. They did those limited runs, didn't they? Of those massive, and you've got a load of gear with it and stuff. How much were they? I can't remember.
There's all the information that.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's the information there, ladies and gentlemen. Go to the website, that's relevant, and that's obviously all correct. Some great photos there.
Yeah. But basically, you've got to go to the Gibson garage in Nashville to pick it up, Brad. You can't get one any other way. You can't buy it on a website. You can't buy it from a reseller. You've got to go to the Gibson, the garage, their shop in Nashville, that kind of showcase shop. Pick it up from there. They'll fly you there first class.
Hold on, Simon.
You get a dinner. Sorry.
Hold on. Hold on.
Oh.
It's on the website. Hold on. Jumping the gun.
Sorry, sir. Sir.
Yeah. So he another great photo of the guitar. Well, we're assuming that's the real guitar. We're assuming that.
Yeah. How'd you know?
And obviously some great photos there that are that the album has that the guitar features on, and we've been fortunate to rank that album there, then play on. But yeah, there's the information there that Simon was saying. Murphy Lab teams have worked tirelessly to make this exact replica. Be interesting to see. Okay, so here's what's included in the pack. Simon, can you read that?
I can. Hold on. It says what's included: custom stenciled hard shell case, which you could see in the photograph there, with green, Moore, and Hammett, which is cool. Custom pick tin with 6 Jim Dunlop Kirk Hammett Jazz 3 picks. A custom Kirk Hammett black leather strap and certificate of authenticity with a signed photo of Kirk Hammett by photographer Ross Halfin. He's very experienced. But
right.
It also included is, and I think this is the thing, isn't it? This is the kind of marketing bit around it and kind of making it a very special thing besides having the actual guitar.
So I'll read the first paragraph, and if you guys want to go through those points there, which is, so obviously if you're looking for an unforgettable experience, legacy of tone, the guitars, the history, it's all there, isn't it, Simon? The 59 Les Paul standard, handmade, expert luthiers at the custom shop to match the original by Murphy Lab. You get the evening with Kurt and a visit to the headquarters, and then look at the list, Simon and Brad.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Yeah. I think it's a first-class round airfare for two to Nashville, one-room overnight accommodation at four-star hotel in Nashville. So yeah, you get an experience, don't you? What they're selling here is, a very expensive guitar, clearly, but also an experience of going to pick it up, and having dinner, with Kirk Hammett and and a reception and a backstage tour of Nashville's premier guitar experience, the Gibson Garage. So, they're making it an experience that people would want to buy into.
And that's the key, ladies and gentlemen, that a dealer couldn't do. And I think from a marketing point of view, this is great. And rock and roll's about making money, Brad and Simon. We've always said that. There's no problem, there's no issues with making money in the rock and roll industry. And, if Gibson are going to do this, my question is, and I can't find this, if they're using Kurt, his guitar that he's paid $2 million, he's going there, he's going to be the MC at this dinner. Gosh, Kurt must be getting a big slice of the pie too.
I'm just looking at the fine notes there, the fine print. It says, please note that the experience is not included in the price of the guitar.
Correct.
No, but Gibson are paying for it, basically.
Right.
So in a sense, $50,000 includes that experience, and Gibson are paying for the experience, is my understanding. Yeah. The flights and the overnight accommodation is included in it. So if you want to stay longer, then you can, but it's at your own expense. But they're paying for that, which I think is, as you say, Andrew, they're a guitar company. The objective is to sell guitars and keep the name of Gibson alive. And there's been a lot of they were 25,000. There are Tim Thomas's answer by question for me. The EVH Frankies new were $25,000. So, similar thing, with the added case and all sorts of stuff, with it. So, as I say, I think that, Gibson's job is to, this is clearly a heritage thing. And, they're selling an experience, but they're selling a guitar, and they're selling, keeping the Gibson name alive, keeping the Les Paul. And I know there's been a lot of talk over the summer about how few young bands are playing Gibson guitars. I don't know if you saw that. It was quite a lot of tittle tattle on Tinternet about how few young bands were playing guitars. And yes, Jim might have been, but so I don't think so. I mean, I think it's this is the latest in a long line of what I would call experiences, and collectors things that
well, it'll be interesting to see what people say when they get their replica copies in comparison to the EVH one that came out that Simon's mentioned. A lot of people said that they couldn't tell the difference. So, it's going to be interesting to see what people say here. But look, comprehensive scanning of the original instrument and what computers can do today as far as developing reproductions and helping to develop reproductions is amazing. But that's the flame that you were talking about, Brad. And I've done some comparisons, and maybe when we do a future show, we can get that black and white picture and this color one and put it up. But from my quick little feeble eyes, half blind eyes, it's remarkable. from 68 to what 2020.
Look, I'm obviously dubious about. I mean, companies doing this sort of thing. I understand why they do it, and obviously this guitar will become a collector piece, no doubt. My thing would be how. I mean, did they do the neck break on it and then repair it like Greeny's? Like, how close is it in comparison? And I know that the Gibson garage, Gibson, like the Murphy Lab, are doing an amazing job. And I don't know if anyone's watched the recent Gibson guitar TV thing with Slash showing his collection, and he shows that like he's got one of the first 2 Les Paul bursts that were ever released, and he uses one of the recreations of that from the Murphy Lab on tour. He uses it. He says it doesn't sound exactly the same, though. He does say that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
well, there's your question there. See the last point.
No structural break. Okay. Yeah, because my understanding, Gary Moore had it in the back of his car, and they got rear-ended and it broke beds.
Correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I think it's good in a sense where if Gibson need to do this sort of thing to keep their brand alive and to keep them going, I'm all for it. It does, unfortunately, cut out the middle person when they do things like this. So, unfortunately, music shops and agents start to suffer for this sort of thing. But let's be honest, though, they're all sold already. So, I mean, they probably would have sold them before they even made them.
Oh, absolutely. 50 people will buy that, won't they? No problems at all across the world, and turn up in a first class aeroplane to pick it up and take it away. I completely, but it's a marketing thing, isn't it?
Simon, a dude won $27 million on Powerball here on Wednesday. If that dude was me, I'd be buying one of those guitars. Trust me.
Yeah, somebody in the UK won, what was it, £170 million on the Euro lottery this week on Friday. It wasn't me, but if you win, absolutely, 50,000 becomes nothing. Then you just buy one, But as I say, I think this is the guys who took over Gibson, are turning it into a heritage brand, and this is part of it. It's making faithful, very intricate copies of very famous guitars and selling them very expensively. Now, the interesting thing is that, do you think they do a Murphy Lab one for, say, $8,000 or something like that, or would they do a,
Simon, I think you've hit the nail on the head. So what they'll do is they'll generate interest with this. And then they will come out and do a better one.
Yeah, that would be my thought. Is if you did a Murphy Lab one for, I don't know, $8,000 or whatever Murphy Labs are. That's kind of how much they are, $6,000-8,000, I think, that sort of price range.
Yeah.
And then you'd bring out that as a, as a kind of, and that's the one you give to the dealers and all of that kind of thing. What I mean?
Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, I agree with you guys. I agree with Andrew, what he said before. Look, if I won Lotto tomorrow and they were releasing a Murphy Lab of this guitar again that was available for $50,000 with that experience, I'd do it 100%.
Yeah, so would I. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that because, as I say, some of it is about the experience, isn't it? It's not, if you're going to afford to drop 50, it's like if you can afford to drop £500,000 on a Ferrari or something like that. You can afford to drive it and have it serviced every 10 minutes. It's because it's about the experience of of that, and that experience, as you've got that much money, $50,000 is not that much for that experience. So
no, It's not.
I completely understand.
The guitar will hold its value, and that's a given. It's not going to depreciate. It'll stay where it is valued wise or increase. And that's the thing with these guitars. When they make a limited run like this, they do hold their value. They do hold their value.
It's never going to go down, is it?
Well,
it absolutely isn't going to go down.
A lot of the prices of Gibsons, like the ones that I use, have held their value and increased in value ever since I bought them, and that's what happens with a collectible style guitar. It will increase in value over the years, and obviously I'll be handing my guitars over to my son, when I pass on, and I'm sure they'll be worth, sentimentally, they'll probably be worth a lot more to him than money, but they'll still be worth some money, which is great. But these things are quite unique because they've been, designed and built off the original Greeny guitar that's had all that mileage and usage from Peter Green, Gary Moore, and now Kirk Hammett. So it's got a history behind it. So you are buying a piece of history in a sense. That's I guess what would you call it? Something that's morphed into another piece of history from the original.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
I wonder, a slight bit of DNA, maybe. Who knows?
I don't know. Yeah, that's an interesting point. But I think that we are in an age where these things, are currently, and I think there's an interesting question here, isn't there? It's not my question, by the way, but I think it's interesting that do you think at some point, that the kids of today, like your son, does he really give a monkey's ear about a 59 Les Paul? Or actually will they kind of fade a bit into the background and be kind of different, to be, not be viewed in the same way because the people who are currently buying those, have kind of grown up with them, and there's a mystique around them. We all go, ooh, but you go 50 years down the line, and all the people who grew up with them are all dead, and you, and you get in a position where your son is able, 30 years time to buy one, but they've, that mystique and that thing has kind of faded because, because people are not. Do you think it's going to carry on, or do you think, do you think it will fade?
It's a good thing you brought up, a good question. But I do believe that, you've got young guys hunting down L series strats, like guys that are in their 20s. And I do believe that the appeal will still be there for vintage guitars. You've got a lot of young guys that are into Stevie Ray Vaughan, and they all want old tube screamers. They want old 60s strats. They want, the Fenders, and they want the old stuff. They don't want to buy modern stuff if they can afford it. So I do believe that will carry on once generations have moved on. I believe that. It's like a legacy thing that will just keep. The Beatles will always be popular. The Hendrix, Peter Green, Fleetwood Mac, like all these bands that were iconic and pretty much changed history, like guitars that they used will remain in value. I'm pretty sure that will remain that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the bands thing is the people, the musicians is an interesting point. I think that, I notice it already. There are people in the team that are in my team who I know there's a couple. If I mention the name Jimmy Page, they don't know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So already generationally, yours and my generation, the whole world knew who Jimmy Page was and all that. Now, less so. Of course, people still do, and people are still interested. People still go back to it. But you feel like that. the line is doing that in terms of their popularity and their memorability.
Yeah,
if that's a word.
Well,
It's becoming less so, and I think that's kind of my point. Is I think in the violin world, Stradivariuses are still worth millions of dollars because it's just a similar thing to those 50, 58, 59, 60 Les Pauls, rarity value and.
Andrew and Simon, I think there will still be young kids when we've moved on, still picking up a guitar because they've listened
100%.
to Peter Green or Jimi
100%.
Hendrix or Jimmy Page or even Slash or Eddie Van Halen. No matter who it is, there will still be young kids picking up guitars. And if anything, like social media's brought a lot of that to the forefront because you see so many young kids these days shredding it up and just playing amazingly at such young ages now. I do believe that there will always be an appeal for these older guitars. That's just my opinion, guys, but I'm sure that will remain that way.
You can't go wrong with the Strat. You can't go wrong with the Les Paul.
That's right. Yeah, and like what you were saying, though, Simon, I like the appeal for a 58 Les Paul and a 59 and a 60s Les Paul. They will always be there, I think, because of the greats that use them. So, there are, like I said before, there are a lot of kids out there that are, got rich parents and they're out trying to buy, 70s Strats even now because they know they'll be worth money at some point. So 60s, 70s, and but a beautiful thing that's being done now also is classic reproductions like this. So if they did do like this is like a limited 50 run, but say the Murphy Lab, like you said, Simon released like a not so perfect version of it, but replica for 8, 9, 10 grand or whatever, it will sell. It will sell.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, absolutely. People want that, and the out of phase sound and all of those things, which is unique to that guitar. I mean, I don't know how well the Gary Moore one sold, to be honest. It's it's just comparison. Yeah, I'm sure it did. Did they only make a limited run, Andrew? Did they?
Yeah. I don't know what the figure is, but yeah, it's sold out, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. But look, I think at the end of the day, if this all feeds in, guys, into building that mystique behind Les Paul's, Brad, the whole ethos, the whole romance behind that whole rock and roll history that this channel celebrates and is all part of.
Yeah.
Gosh, look, we're doing an hour show on it.
Look, I'll be honest with you. Collecting guitars becomes an addiction once, if you've got the money, why wouldn't you? So it's addictive because I want that guitar because it's got that beautiful top. Oh, I want that guitar because I've always wanted a gold top. Oh, I want that guitar because it's got P90s and I haven't got a guitar for P90s. And it's like a never-ending thing. You're always searching and always looking for tone, and that never-ending search for tone that we've spoken about before on this channel, all of our heroes did it, and we all do it ourselves. We're all out changing pickups. We're putting in guitars, into our laps that we normally wouldn't do, and just chase something. And just recently acquired, say, a Gretsch and this, and like things you might not have looked at getting a long time ago, but you get it because you're searching a tone. So I think the appeal will always be there for collectors to buy these things. Thank God, in a sense. I know, for example, Gibson were going through a hard time there around 2020, was it, Andrew? Around that time? 2019.
Well,
2018.
2018. So if this means that it keeps Gibson afloat and they do these things where they're limited runs, and then I believe then, the other thing I see, it does. And the other thing too, I also want to say this is if it keeps them being built in the warehouse where they should be built, and they're being done by luthiers that are quality craftsmanship, and the high end stuff hopefully brings the low end stuff down in price a little bit. That's that's basically what I'm hoping they do these things for, because $50,000 is not within the reach of the average person to go and buy a guitar. But a lot of people will stretch themselves to $3, $5, $6 to buy a Les Paul because they want one. So hopefully, when they do these limited runs of 50 guitars that are a Murphy Lab Greeny, that they're so expensive, and it helps bring the $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 guitars down in price to $3.5, more affordable for the average person. So there are more people playing Les Pauls and Gibson guitars.
Yeah, because that's the important thing with Gibson's point. Well, I mean, their balance between how much they charge and and how many people buy them, kind of thing, as you say. But they remain an aspirational brand, don't they? As everyone aspires to a Les Paul. Well, a lot of people do, and I think that's 100%. Important.
Hey,
Andrew, as somebody who's recently bought some Peter Green replica pickups, have you put them in a guitar yet?
I have, and I haven't done a sample on it, but I will. But do
you want to keep your powder dry on it? But or can you tell us something about it? I'm really interested to hear.
It was a plank of wood, and I don't want to be disrespectful to what the guitar was beforehand, but that's one of the interesting things, isn't it? You can buy something and it doesn't have anything that you think it should be. I'm not hearing something, so I put a bone nut on Brad. I changed the tuners, I changed the pickups, and I put a 50s loom in. And it it's a breath of fresh air, Brad. It's given me that difference that I expected it to be. Did it cost a little bit more to do that? Yes, but the next step would have been something 4 times the price, 5 times the price. A Gibson custom shop Les Pauls, 10, 15, 20 grand here. That's just never an option, Simon. Was never going to be an option.
No, absolutely. And no, I was really into. So it's given it a much different sound and a bigger sound.
100%.
And
100%. Yeah. That out of phase tone that's in there. We'll do some sound samples. It's something that we keep saying that we want to do here on the channel. When I got my 5150 amp, I did some sound samples. Did it come through on the on my iPhone? Yeah, reasonably okay. But I think that's the good thing, though, Brad, about buying a traditional Les Paul or a standard Les Paul. They're not cheap, but you can buy them and you can make the mods. And you've done that with yours too, haven't you? You've swapped pickups on yours. You've put you've tapped your pots as well, haven't you?
Yeah. So I've coil tapped the pickup on this one. So if anyone doesn't know what coil tapping is, it's like, say, so you put a switch on it so that it goes single coil, humbucking. And you can get taps like the Peter Green style in and out of phase. You can put them on your other tone control, for example. The Jimmy Page Les Paul that was released in the 90s had that configuration where you could go in and out of phase. So you could get that Peter Green thing going as well, or you could go back to traditional wiring. So the push-pull pots on them are, for example, the neck one on mine gets used a lot because, I use that neck pickup a lot in the coil tap position because of the strat stuff I need to do. So, and it makes it a little bit more versatile. Just gives you a little bit more variation. Playing live, like, say, for example, I keep going back to the perfect example for me was I did a David Bowie show for a UK Bowie show, basically, that came to Australia, and I was the guitarist in it. And the majority of the stuff was the Mick Ronson songs, like that era of Bowie. So obviously the Les Paul was the majority of the tone that I used, but then there was the hits thrown in there from, say, Let's Dance album. So I needed to do China Girl and Let's Dance and things like that. So when there was a Strat involved, I could do the push-pull pipe thing. Just the reason you wouldn't even have time to change guitars because the songs would segue. So you'd go straight from Rebel Rebel into like China Girl. You didn't really have time to change guitars, and that's wonderful when you can do that with one guitar, I think. But back to the Peter Green one, I think it's a specific tone, and that guitar is just that tone. So putting those pickups in, Andrew, that you did into your guitar, does it help you achieve that nasal tone, that out of phase tone that you've had in your head all these years?
100%, because what I did with the original burst buckers on there, I took them to my luthier and I got him to flip the magnet. So it gave, because I didn't want to do it electronically, I wanted to do it through the pickups to replicate Greeny's setup. But the only problem is when you did that, and the way that it was wired, because what you do to get that out of phase tone, what you do is you keep it in the middle position and you fiddle with the volume knobs to bring the pickups in and out. Yep. And rather than fiddle with the selector. But every time you did that, sometimes you'd get a little bit of feedback, especially with your hands on the strings. And it was just the way that it was electronically done like that, because it wasn't meant to be like that. And that upset me. So that's one of the reasons why I got these Monty Bethnal Greens, got those put in there. And then my luthier took the pickups, burst buckers out and put it in my Greco, which still does that. So, which still has the flipped magnet. So it's, you know, it has that, there's something going on. But the good thing with this one here, Brad, is that when you fiddle with the volume knobs, when it's in the middle position, you're not going to get that crack. You know. Mate. And look, we've got a lot of guitar players here in the chat, and it's something that you hear. It's something that we do for ourselves, and you go, yep, this is good. That's certainly not a $50,000 replica, Brad, but it's going to do for me.
Like you said, Andrew, you win lotto, things will change. But when you haven't got lotto on your side, you've still got to chase the tone that's in your head. So
correct.
Yeah, I agree.
Hey, it's been a great show, guys. But before we go quickly, I know that the Rock Professor he's got something that he wants to talk to us about. So maybe we can spend the next 5 minutes. YouTube celebrities and signature guitars.
Yeah. Well, it came up. It's come up this week. I mean, talking of Gibson, that also this week they released Rick Beato, who I'm sure everyone's familiar with. They offered him a signature Gibson guitar, to which he said no initially. What's that about? And eventually he said, all right, I'll do one. And he's giving all the proceeds to a charity, which I think is pretty cool. And I think that was his educational music charity, which I think is pretty cool. But it did strike me, that and I've seen other YouTubers have, signature guitars, and and there is a question. It's not my question, but there's been a couple of things people are saying. Is it worth it? Do YouTubers deserve to have signature guitars? Clearly Rick Beato, they've done the same thing as with Greeny. They've done a limited edition, limited number run, and they've all sold out in $2,000 to $2,500.
I think personally, I think why not? Because YouTube celebrities, YouTube people that run YouTube channels can be someone who changed someone's life, for example, and made them become the guitarist that they are. They might have been their source of inspiration instead of it being a hero that you see in a rock band. They might have said, I want to learn guitar. They've gone to Rick Beato in his channel, and all of a sudden he's become their idol, their hero on guitar. I hate the word idol, but, there's someone they've looked up to. Yeah. And and then so I say, and for Rick to do that, to donate that, that's obviously, that's even more the reason than not to go and buy it if you can afford it, really, if you're a fan.
Yeah. I think, of course, that the other thing is if you're a much younger musician, and there are quite a lot of, companies will give younger musicians, guitars and things, and I think that's a way of people getting guitars, that they can use and promote their own careers and things, and also, a way of maybe earning a bit of money, because as you know, Brad, these days, a rock musician has to have many strings to their bow to to make a career out of things. It's not just go in, make an album, sell millions of copies, go on tour, and buy a mansion kind of thing. It's not quite that anymore. So
1,000% agree there. It's you got to have a finger in lots of different bits of pie. You can't just rely on one source. And look, Gibson, if you want someone that's in Australia that you want to represent,
they are. Our new mission is to get Brad a Gibson endorsed guitar.
Gibson.
Yeah. Come on, Gibson, you can do it.
Yeah.
Why not? Yeah. I mean, I think that lest we forget that clearly there's Rick Beato, sold out again like that. So there's clearly a lot of influence there, and I know that I don't know if you got. I was watching Phil McKnight on Thursday, and he's had a deal with a company called Stu Mac, who make guitar tools and stuff.
Yep.
And he said, and he did a deal with them so that I think it was like you got free shipping, I think, and 10% off possibly. Anyway, I can't. But anyway, did a deal with Stu Mac. So these tools, he identified a set of tools, and if people bought them, they got free shipping and stuff like that. Because I think he wanted to, and he said, he didn't say how many, but he said the response. Stu Mac were astonished by the response. The number of people who'd gone and bought the stuff from Stu Mac, on the back of this deal. And he was hoping that Stu Mac would understand the value of having free shipping, because currently they charge you for ship. And so even if Phil's got 330,000 subscribers, something like that, in the 300,000, I think, somewhere around there. So even if he knows, that he says, that the response to that sort of company, even a medium-sized company, has been huge, and they've noticed. Man alive, they've noticed. So I think that as we've been talking about earlier, it's the thing about commercialism. It's the business. And the business is moving into other areas, and you've got to recognize those things, haven't you? That other guitarists, guitarists with YouTube presences and stuff like that. I mean, for instance, the one that always, Rabia Massad, has had a Chapman, signature for ages, as he grows his YouTube presence and stuff like that. Clearly that's
YouTubers have bigger audiences than some rock stars, so why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. All right, guys, we were only supposed to do an hour. As usual, we can't shut Brad, the Rock Professor, and Andrew up when we get talking about music and guitars. But we got, I think we did well on a show that was planned on the fly. I look forward, though, guys, to finding out more information on this tribute Greeny guitar, don't we? That'll be interesting to get some information. Rock Professor, while we got some people in here, do you want to do a quick shout out to everybody?
I just found something, which is I just found a Gibson Gary Moore signature Les Paul from 2001. Yeah, on sale in England for £4,000, 3,995.
Cool.
But it's clearly a new guitar. It's not a replica. It hasn't been aged in any way. It's brand new.
Right.
So clearly a lot of difference between the two. Sorry, I was just looking around seeing that. Yes, if I go back, scroll back up a bit, and I know that Derek was Clacton was first in. So Tim Thomas, Derek Clacton, thanks guys. Johnny Heartbreaker, Jonas Holberg, good to you. Drops Family Garden, Gret Zeppelin, thanks guys for joining. Teresa, thoughts for your father, Teresa, who's ill apparently. So our thoughts go out to him. I hope he gets better soon. That's be fantastic. Robert Ranford. We have Holly Lewis as well. Good morning, Holly. Hope you're good. In sunny Tulsa, I think you are. Crappy Luxury. Morning, Crappy. And Ellen as well. Good morning, Ellen. I saw you as well. A bit further on. Jazz Thunder 50. Jim. Morning, Jim. From sunny Scotland. Hope you're good up there. Cool. I think hopefully I got around. I hope I didn't miss anybody. But if I did, apologies. And thanks to all for joining. Good to see you all. And awesome. Stay safe this week. And we'll see you next week when we'll be back with Hugh doing Jimi Hendrix.
Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome, guys.
Thank you. And this week's photos kindly brought to you by Elvis and Brad Cook. Thank you for sponsoring the photos this week. You guys are awesome. Clickbaiters. Thank you to our channel sponsor. There he is there, Mr. Glynn Pickups. He's going to come back on in a couple of weeks and hang out and do a show about some custom pickups he's done for a local band in a couple of weeks' time. So we look forward to that. We'll attach Mr. Glynn's details to this video. Brad, Rock Professor, thank you guys. We've got a day off tomorrow. We've got a day off here in New Zealand. We've got it's a public holiday in the UK. It's called a bank holiday.
Off.
It's the day that our government's given us the day off to celebrate the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. And I understand you guys had yours in Australia on Thursday, Brad. Is that correct?
Thursday, yep.
Yeah,
that's right.
And yep. We had clearly had the last Monday off for the funeral.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen.
Okay, we're out of here.
Yes.
Lovely to share the screen with you guys again. And thank you for joining us.
Yeah, we'll see you next week. Bye.